You've reached a point where the noise in your head has become unbearable. The self-doubt, the hesitation, the endless loop of maybe later, maybe tomorrow. Every day feels like a tug of war between who you are and who you're supposed to be. You tell yourself that you want to change, that you'll rise, evolve, transform, but deep down, something pulls you back. A familiar inertia, a quiet, invisible force that whispers, "This is who you are. You can't change that." And tonight, sitting alone in the dim light of your room, you finally confront that voice. You close your eyes and whisper, "No, this isn't who I am. This is just who I've become." The air feels heavy, but there's a strange electricity in it, the kind that comes before a storm, because what you're about to face isn't just a moment of motivation. It's a full-scale reprogramming of your mind, your habits, your identity. You're not just changing what you do, you're changing who you believe yourself to be. The next morning, the world looks the same streets, the same sounds, the same routines, but you don't feel the same. You're quiet, alert, almost observant. You begin to notice the invisible patterns that have been running your life. The way you reach for your phone before your feet even hit the floor. The way you postpone the hard tasks until they become impossible. The way you talk yourself out of small victories by demanding perfection. You remember something you once heard. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. The words sink deep. You've been setting goals without changing the system that carries you toward them. You've been demanding transformation while clinging to the habits that keep you trapped. You realize now, habits are not just behaviors, they're votes for the person you are becoming. Every time you choose discipline over delay, focus over distraction, action over hesitation, you're casting a vote for your future self. You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to start building momentum, one small win at a time. So you begin small. You wake up and make your bed. It seems pointless, almost childish, but there's something symbolic in that act. It's a promise to yourself that today you will follow through. You drink water instead of coffee. You write down 3 things you'll do today and actually finish them. Each act is tiny, almost invisible. But beneath the surface, something monumental is shifting. You start seeing confidence not as a feeling, but as a pattern. It's not something you wake up with. It's something you earn by keeping small promises to yourself. The more you keep those promises, the louder your belief grows. Slowly, the old program, the one built on excuses and doubt, begins to fade. Days pass, then weeks. The new you is emerging quietly, built not on emotion, but on repetition. You stop saying, "I want to be confident." You start saying, "I am someone who follows through." That shift from desire to identity becomes your turning point. But reprogramming isn't easy. The old code fights back. You wake up late one morning and skip your routine. The voice of failure whispers again, "See, you haven't changed." For a moment, it stings. But then you remember, perfection isn't the goal, consistency is. You whisper back, "I may fall once, but I'll never miss twice." You reset. You continue. And slowly, you learn to trust yourself again. The reprogramming deepens. You realize how many years you spent believing that confidence comes from results, from success, approval, or validation. But now you see it differently. Confidence isn't the reward at the end. It's the foundation at the beginning. It's the quiet faith that says, "I'll figure it out." It's the system that tells you, "Show up anyway." Every system you build is a declaration of self-respect. Every habit you repeat is a vote for your worth. You're no longer waiting to feel confident. You're designing it through structure, through repetition, through discipline. One evening, as you sit by your window watching the city lights flicker against the night, you realize something extraordinary. The person you once envied, the one who seemed fearless, unstoppable, certain, wasn't born that way. They built it day by day, just like this. Confidence isn't an emotion. It's a byproduct of alignment. When your actions finally match your ambitions, The wind outside whispers softly through the curtains, carrying a question that chills and excites you at once. If you can reprogram your habits, can you also reprogram your destiny? You stare into the darkness, your heart beating steady, knowing that the answer lies not in what you think, but in what you'll do next. You stand, straighten your back, and whisper to yourself, not as a hope, but as a command. This time, I am the system. And just like that, the reprogramming begins, not with lightning, not with fire, but with quiet, unshakable resolve. Fade out. Have you ever stood at the edge of something that terrified you? Not because it could break your body, but because it could shatter everything you believed about yourself? You stand there now. The cold wind bites your face, sharp and merciless. The horizon stretches endlessly, golden yet distant. And for a moment, you wonder if you have the strength to take the next step. Beneath your calm exterior, something trembles, a quiet fear, not of failure, but of the truth. You've always known you are capable of more, yet you've chosen comfort, excuses, and the illusion of safety. But tonight feels different. Tonight, that voice inside, the one you've silenced for years, has awakened. It whispers through the roar of the wind, a challenge wrapped in defiance. Most people stop when they're tired. You stop when you're done. For most of your life, you've been running from the edge. Every time life pushed you, you backed away, telling yourself it wasn't the right moment, that you weren't ready. You learned to label your fear as practicality, your hesitation as wisdom, and your weakness as self-care. You convinced yourself that it was fine to live small, as long as it felt safe. But something inside you has grown restless. It no longer wants to be protected. It wants to be tested. The truth is simple, yet brutal. Your limits aren't real. They're mental constructs built over years of choosing the easy path. And now, as your breath fogs in the cold air, you can feel the weight of every time you chose comfort over courage pressing down on you. You begin to walk. Slowly at first, each step feels like defiance, each breath a reminder that you are alive. The road beneath you is uneven and rough, but there's a rhythm forming, a pulse that matches the beat of your heart. Pain starts to creep in, the familiar burn in your muscles, the tightness in your lungs, the ache in your legs. Your body screams for rest. Your mind whispers, stop. But you keep going because something deep inside, something primal, has woken up. The warrior within you, the one that never needed motivation, only purpose, is stirring. You remember what Goggins said: you have to build calluses on your brain, just like how you build calluses on your hands. Callus your mind through pain and suffering. You've always misunderstood pain. You thought it was punishment. But now, as the ache grows, you begin to see it differently. Pain isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It's the only force honest enough to strip away illusion and reveal what you're truly made of. Each drop of sweat, each moment of exhaustion is a reminder that you're alive, that you're growing, that you're no longer avoiding the edge, you're walking straight into it. The voice in your head starts to shift. The I can't becomes I must. The I'm tired becomes I'm not done. You are reprogramming yourself not with comfort, but with confrontation. The 40% rule echoes in your mind. When you think you're done, you're only 40% finished. You test it now. You push harder, past the burn, past the trembling, past the voice of resistance. Every fiber of your being is screaming for relief, yet every step forward brings a strange calm. The pain doesn't disappear, it transforms. It becomes fuel. You realize that greatness isn't some grand, mystical gift. It's built from ordinary moments of choosing not to quit. Every time you break through discomfort, you build a new version of yourself. Every step forward is a statement: I am more than I think I am. You flash back to a memory, the mirror years ago, your reflection hollow, your eyes tired. You remember the disappointment that lived behind them. You wanted to change, but you waited for motivation to strike, for the perfect time to begin. You told yourself that you'd start tomorrow, next week, next year, but tomorrow never came. You were waiting for permission to believe in yourself. You are in danger, Goggins once said, of living a life so comfortable and soft that you will die without ever realizing your true potential. Those words echo now, slicing through your hesitation. They don't sound like judgment, they sound like truth. As you push forward, your mind begins to quiet. The chatter fades, replaced by a steady pulse of determination. You realize that fear has never been your enemy, it's been your guide. Every dream that scared you was simply a map pointing toward your growth. You finally understand what the edge really is. It's not a place, it's a mindset. It's every moment when you could stop, but don't. Every second when your body screams for rest, but your spirit refuses to surrender. The edge is not where you break, it's where you become unbreakable. The sun dips below the horizon, darkness falls, but you don't stop. Your legs feel heavy, your breath shallow, your body trembling, but you've crossed into a new realm of awareness. The pain hasn't vanished, but it no longer defines you. You've entered the zone where doubt dies and truth begins. You realize you've been chasing comfort your whole life, but comfort never made you grow, it only kept you small. Now you've found something far greater than comfort. Purpose. You collapse to the ground, staring up at the stars. The night sky stretches endlessly above you, vast and infinite. You're exhausted, but there's a peace in your chest that you've never felt before. You smile through the exhaustion because you understand something profound. You've changed. You haven't conquered the mountain, you've conquered yourself. You whisper into the still night, "This is just the beginning." The edge was never meant to stop you, it was meant to awaken you. Every step you take beyond it reshapes who you are. Every act of defiance against your own limits brings you closer to the person you were always meant to be. You rise slowly, still breathing hard, still shaking, but there's strength in your eyes. The fear hasn't disappeared. It's still there, but now you walk with it, not away from it. You take one final breath, step forward, and leap not to fall, but to rise, because now you know the truth. The edge isn't the end of the road. It's where transformation begins. Have you ever felt like life was slipping through your fingers, as if you were running, constantly chasing something, yet never arriving anywhere? You wake up each morning with your heart already racing. You scroll, rush, plan, repeat, and somewhere in the background, there's always this whisper: when will you finally feel alive? You move through your day like a shadow, surrounded by noise, notifications, and unfinished thoughts. You're there, but not really there. At breakfast, you're thinking about work. At work, you're thinking about tomorrow. And at night, you lie in bed replaying the past. It's like you're everywhere at once, except in the only place life actually exists, the present moment. Tonight, something shifts. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's awakening. But you feel it, the weight of rushing, the ache of wanting, the endless craving for more. It finally cracks something inside you. You step outside into the cold night. The city hums faintly in the distance. The wind brushes your skin. For the first time in a long while, you actually feel the air, not just notice it. You breathe, slowly, deeply, and it hits you, this moment. This breath is real. Everything else is just memory or imagination. You remember a line you once read in The Power of Now. You are here to enable the divine purpose of the universe to unfold. That is how important you are. You look up. The stars hang above you, ancient and silent. Their light traveled millions of years just to reach this instant, this exact second when you decided to stop running. And suddenly you realize you've been living in the waiting room of life, always thinking the real thing is just around the corner, after success, after peace, after you figure it all out. But the truth is quieter and simpler. The real thing has always been here. You start to notice how much of your pain was never about what was happening, but about what your mind said about what was happening. The noise in your head, the judgments, the fears, the comparisons. That's what made life heavy. Every what if and should have was like a stone you kept carrying. You weren't tired from living. You were tired from thinking about living. As you walk, you begin to practice something new. You stop labeling, stop analyzing. You just see the way the streetlights reflect on wet pavement, the sound of your own footsteps, the rise and fall of your breath. For a brief moment, your mind falls silent, and what's left is peace, not the peace you chase, but the peace that was always there. Toll once said, "Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have." Those words echo in you now. You realize that presence isn't about meditation poses or perfect calm. It's about surrender, the courage to let go of control and simply exist. You've been trying to bend time, to fix the past, and predict the future. But time isn't your enemy. Your attachment to it is. Flashbacks flicker through your mind, all the moments you missed because you were somewhere else mentally, birthdays spent thinking about work, conversations half heard, sunsets ignored because your phone lit up. It hurts, the realization. But beneath the guilt, there's a strange relief. Because you see now that every missed moment was pointing you back here. You find a bench and sit. You feel your pulse, steady and alive. You look at your hands, your breath fogging the air. Nothing extraordinary is happening. And yet, it feels extraordinary because you're fully awake. The world around you hasn't changed. You have. You start to understand what presence really means. It's not detachment, it's full immersion. It's being so alive in this moment that the past and future lose their grip. It's when the noise fades and the stillness inside you speaks. You begin to feel life not as a timeline, but as a pulse, one infinite heartbeat, always happening now. You think of all the energy you've poured into worrying, how much of your life was spent rehearsing pain that never arrived, or reliving stories that were already over. You realize that your mind was a time traveler, but your soul was waiting patiently in the present. And now, for the first time, you've come home. Tall's voice lingers in your memory again. Life is now. There was never a time when your life was not now, nor will there ever be. You close your eyes, letting those words sink in. Life isn't a destination. It's a continuous unfolding. Every breath is a chance to begin again. Every moment is an invitation to wake up. The world has been whispering to you all along, but you were too loud inside to hear it. Now, the whisper becomes clear, not from outside, but from within. This is it, it says. This is where your life truly begins. Not someday, not eventually, but now. You stand up and start walking again. There's no rush, no finish line. You move with calm purpose. Every step is deliberate. Every sound, every sensation feels like a gift. You realize you don't have to control everything. You just have to be here for it. The art of presence isn't about escaping the world. It's about finally entering it with both feet, with open eyes, with a quiet mind. You start to smile, not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. The present moment, imperfect and raw, is enough. As dawn begins to rise, light spills gently across the horizon. You pause to watch it. No phone, no thoughts, just you, the sun, and silence. And for the first time, you feel it. You are not chasing life anymore. You are living it. Have you ever wondered how much of your past still lives inside your body? Not in memory, but in muscle, in breath, in the quiet tension that never seems to leave. You tell yourself you've moved on, that the pain is behind you, but sometimes, for no clear reason, your chest tightens, your shoulders stiffen. You feel a weight pressing down that you can't explain. It's as if your body remembers what your mind has tried so hard to forget. You wake up one morning and everything feels heavy, not just emotionally, physically. You drag your feet to the mirror and see it in your posture, the slump, the guarded stance, the way your eyes avoid your own reflection. You tell yourself you're fine, but deep inside, you know something is trapped. You've been carrying it, a silent echo of every hurt, every failure, every unspoken fear. As you move through the day, life feels mechanical. Your body reacts before your mind even understands why. A sudden sound, a harsh word, a reminder of something long past, and your breath catches, your pulse rises. You pretend to stay calm, but inside, your body is already fighting an old battle. It's then that you realize the truth. Healing is not just in the mind, it begins in the body. You remember a line from Bessel van der Kolk's book, "The body keeps the score." The body remembers what the mind forgets. Those words echo like thunder inside you, because now you see your body is not your enemy. It's the diary of everything you've ever lived through. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every suppressed emotion is written in its language. Tight shoulders, clenched fists, shallow breath. And if you ever want to truly be free, you have to learn to listen to it. So you start small. You close your eyes and take a deep breath. At first, it feels awkward, like you're doing something wrong. The air feels stuck. Your body resists, but then something shifts. The air moves deeper. You feel the rise and fall of your chest. You start to notice the tremors, the micro movements you used to suppress. The body begins to speak, and for the first time, you stop interrupting. Memories start surfacing, not as thoughts, but as sensations. The tightening in your stomach, the lump in your throat, the ache behind your heart, they are fragments of your story, still alive within you. You've been fighting them for years, trying to silence them with distractions, logic, and noise. But now you understand they're not here to punish you. They're here to be released. You walk outside. The evening is quiet. The air is cool, gentle. You take your first conscious step, not just with your feet, but with awareness. You feel the ground beneath you, solid and alive. The rhythm of your steps becomes a heartbeat, the earth and you moving together. For a moment, you're not lost in your thoughts. You're in your body. You're here. The power of embodiment begins to awaken within you. It's not about pretending to be strong. It's about inhabiting yourself fully. You begin to realize that your body has always been your ally, sending messages, asking you to pause, to breathe, to feel. Every ache was a whisper, every tension a cry for attention. You just never listened. You think back to the years you spent numbing yourself, scrolling endlessly, eating mindlessly, talking without meaning. You tried to live outside yourself because being inside was too painful. But now, as you breathe deeper, you sense something sacred, a quiet peace returning. You're not broken, you're reawakening. You remember another line from Van der Kolk's book. Being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health. Safe connections are fundamental to meaningful and satisfying lives, and that's when it hits you. Safety doesn't begin with others. It begins within you. When you inhabit your body, when you honor its rhythms, when you stop fighting its memories, you create safety inside. And only then can you build it outside. You start moving, not for fitness, not for goals, but to feel. You stretch, you dance, you breathe. The movements are messy, uncoordinated, but real. You feel life flowing through you, not as thought, but as energy. The armor you wore for years begins to crack. Underneath it, something raw and powerful begins to shine. Your aliveness. For the first time in years, you don't just exist, you inhabit. You stop analyzing your pain and start experiencing it. You let the tears come, not to break you, but to cleanse you. You feel your body tremble, shake, sigh, and with each release, a part of you comes home. The world around you begins to change, or maybe it's you who is changing. You start noticing colors more vividly, sounds more deeply. The warmth of sunlight feels personal again. The rhythm of your heart becomes music. The act of breathing feels like a miracle, and you realize this is what it means to live embodied, to be fully present in your skin, grounded in your being. The mind may wander, but the body always knows where home is. As the day fades into night, you stand still, eyes closed, hands over your heart. You whisper to yourself, I am here. I am whole. I am alive. And somewhere deep within, the body, your oldest companion, finally exhales. But as you breathe in again, a new thought arises, a quiet, unsettling one. If your body remembers pain, can it also remember power? The question lingers like electricity in the air, and you know the next chapter will take you there. What if the voice inside you, the one you've silenced for years, was never meant to whisper? What if it was born to roar? You stand before the mirror, but the reflection doesn't quite meet your gaze. It's strange. You look the same, yet something feels muted. Behind your eyes lies a truth you've buried under fear, under doubt, under layers of politeness and hesitation. You've been living half alive, speaking half truths, expressing half of who you are, because somewhere along the way, you were taught to shrink, to fit, to belong. But tonight, something inside you stirs, faint, like an ember refusing to die, the kind of restlessness that comes not from boredom, but from suppression. You can feel it, a pressure rising from your chest to your throat, clawing for release. It's your voice, the real one, aching to be heard. You remember moments when you wanted to speak but didn't, when you knew the right words but fear made your tongue heavy, when you wanted to say no but you smiled instead. The world applauded your calmness, your restraint, your politeness, but they never saw the war raging inside. And that's where the war of art begins. Not in the world outside, but within. Stephen Pressfield calls it resistance, that invisible force that stops you from becoming who you truly are. Resistance isn't a monster with claws. It's the quiet whisper that says, not today. It's the fatigue that hits just as you begin. It's the endless distractions, the overthinking, the fear of being seen. You sit in a room filled with unfinished dreams, a guitar gathering dust in the corner, a notebook half written, an idea never shared. And as silence surrounds you, a question rises. When did you start believing your silence was safer than your truth? Your mind travels back to that first time someone told you you're too loud, too intense, too emotional. You learned to compress yourself, to dim your fire so others wouldn't feel its heat. But the thing about fire is, it doesn't vanish. It waits. And tonight, you can feel it flicker again. You take a deep breath. It trembles. Your hands shake, but not from weakness, from the surge of something awakening. You remember Pressfield's words. The more resistance you feel towards something, the more important it is for your soul's evolution. And suddenly, you realize the fear you feel when you speak, when you create, when you show yourself, that fear isn't a sign to stop. It's the compass pointing to what truly matters. The scene shifts. You're standing on a small stage. The lights are blinding, the room silent. Every part of you wants to run, but your feet stay. You feel your pulse racing, your throat dry, your palms sweating. Then the moment arrives, you open your mouth. The first word cracks, the second stumbles, but the third, it lands. Something electric happens. You feel your own sound vibrate through the air. It's not perfect, but it's real. And in that instant, a spark ignites in your chest. The taste of freedom. The voice that was caged begins to stretch, to grow, to claim space. You keep speaking, trembling, stuttering, breathing. Every word you say chips away at the shell you built around yourself. You can almost see it, shards of fear falling like broken glass at your feet. The audience disappears. Time slows. You are no longer performing. You are becoming. You realize now that your voice was never about sound. It's about truth. Every sentence you feared saying, every feeling you buried, every story you thought wasn't worth telling. That's where your power hides. And that's when the transformation begins. Not in the applause, but in the silence after. You feel light, empty in the best way. The kind of emptiness that comes after letting go of something heavy you've carried too long. Pressfield's voice echoes in your mind again. It's not the writing part that's hard. What's hard is sitting down to write. And you understand your resistance wasn't outside, it was within. The fear wasn't of failing, it was of being seen. Because to unleash your voice means to expose your truth. And truth is raw, imperfect, human, but it's also divine. In the following days, something subtle shifts in you. You start speaking your mind, not to rebel, but to align. You say what you mean, even when it trembles. You create, even when it scares you. You express, even when no one's watching, because now you know your voice doesn't need permission. You begin to notice how your environment changes too. Some people drift away. Those who loved your silence more than your truth, others draw closer. Those who see the real you and don't flinch. You learn to stand in that space between rejection and authenticity, unshaken, because for the first time you belong, not to them, but to yourself. And as you walk through this newfound life, every choice becomes an act of creation, every word a declaration, every breath a reminder you are free. Then one evening, as the sun sets and paints your walls gold, you sit in stillness. There's no music, no noise, just the rhythm of your own breath. You close your eyes and listen, not to the world, but to the sound within you. It's steady now, clear, confident. This is the voice that was buried under years of fear, the voice that knew who you were long before the world told you who to be, the voice that waited for this moment to finally speak, to finally exist. And in that silence, you whisper to yourself, I remember who I am. A soft wind stirs the curtain, and for a brief second, you feel the universe listen, as if it's been waiting too, waiting for you to rise, to roar, to reclaim your sound. But as you take that breath of peace, a new thought flickers. If your voice can free you, what else can it heal? The light fades, the camera pulls back. The screen fades to black with one word glowing softly. What if the storm you've been running from all your life was never outside you, but within you? What if the thunder you feared was the sound of your own suppressed truth demanding to be heard? It starts on a gray morning. The sky is heavy, dense, almost suffocating. You stare out of the window, coffee gone cold, heart even colder. The world feels loud, opinionated, full of people waiting to tell you who you should be, what you should want, and how you should live. Every scroll, every conversation, every comparison is like a whisper in your ear. You're not enough yet. You've been caught in this storm for years, not of rain or wind, but of judgment. The invisible weight of expectations pressing on your shoulders until you forget how to stand tall. You try to please, to prove, to perform, until even your reflection starts to look like someone else. But deep inside, there's a quiet question rising. Who am I doing this for? You walk through the city, lost in thought. Billboards scream perfection. Faces on screens promise success, beauty, confidence, but all you feel is emptiness. The world sells you dreams, but at the cost of your peace. You've been taught to chase likes, approval, applause, and yet, the more you chase, the further happiness drifts. And then, like lightning cracking through the clouds, it hits you. You've been trying to win a game that doesn't even belong to you. Mark Manson's words echo in your mind. The desire for a more positive experience is itself a negative experience, and paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is itself a positive experience. You stop walking. The city still buzzes, but something in you stills. You realize you've been trying to control the storm instead of dancing in it. You've given so many facts about things that never deserved your energy. You've built your identity out of approval, and now it's collapsing under its own weight. The rain begins to fall, soft at first, then fierce. You don't run, you just stand there. For the first time, you let yourself feel it. The water hits your face, your skin, your soul, and in that raw, unfiltered moment, You feel something shift. You remember the moments you said yes when you wanted to scream no, the times you smiled to avoid conflict, apologized for existing, and shrank yourself to fit into other people's comfort zones. Every compromise was a drop, and now the storm has become unbearable. But within the chaos, you find a strange kind of clarity, freedom born from exhaustion. You whisper to yourself, maybe I don't need to please everyone. Maybe I just need to be real. And suddenly, it's like the rain stops midair. The noise fades. You hear your own breath again. You start walking with a new kind of rhythm, slower but firmer. You stop reacting to every opinion. Someone criticizes you, and instead of breaking, you simply nod. Someone misunderstands you, and instead of defending yourself, you stay silent. You realize their storm isn't yours to fight. Manson's voice echoes again. You and everyone you know are going to be dead soon. And in the short amount of time between here and there, you have only a limited number of facts to give. Very few, in fact. If you go around giving a feck about everything, then you will get fecked. You laugh, softly at first, then louder. The kind of laugh that comes from liberation, not humor. For the first time, you see the absurdity of it all. The competition, the comparison, the constant race to nowhere. You walk home drenched, but lighter. There's mud on your shoes, your hair is dripping, and yet you've never felt more alive. Because you finally understand, peace doesn't come from avoiding storms. It comes from knowing which storms are worth walking through. That night, you sit by the window again. The city still glows, still hums, still judges, but you're different. You no longer crave to be understood. You're learning the art of indifference, not apathy, but discernment, the power to choose what matters and what doesn't. You write down a list. Things I actually care about. Things I no longer will. The first list is short, brutally honest, maybe only 3 or 4 items long. The second list is endless. You smile as you cross them out one by one, their opinions, their expectations, their noise. And then a strange calm fills the room. The storm outside fades into silence, and you realize it was never the world's judgment you feared. It was your own. You were your harshest critic, your own accuser. And now you've decided to forgive yourself. You whisper again, this time louder. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be real. The storm has passed, but the air is different, cleaner, lighter, sacred. You can almost taste freedom. You've learned that the weight of judgment is only heavy when you agree to carry it. You step outside once more. The streets are wet, reflecting the city lights like liquid fire. Every step feels deliberate, unapologetic. You've redefined what confidence means. Not loud, not showy, but rooted, grounded in truth. The camera pans out. The rain glistens on your skin as you look up at the night sky, no longer intimidated by its vastness, but inspired by it. The voiceover fades in. When you stop caring about everything, you finally start caring about what truly matters. And as those words dissolve into the sound of the wind, your reflection in a puddle ripples, not from fear this time, but from power. Because now you know you are the calm after the storm. Have you ever wondered why the fear of failure feels heavier than failure itself? It lurks quietly in the corners of your mind, invisible, yet crushing. You feel it every time you hesitate, every time your heart races before taking a step forward. It whispers, what if you fall? What if they laugh? What if you're just not enough? You wake up in the dim silence of morning. The room feels colder than usual, not because of the air, but because of the weight in your chest. Another day begins, but you can't shake the feeling that you're behind. Behind in life, behind in your dreams, behind in you. You pick up your phone, scroll mindlessly, pretending you're busy, pretending you're okay. Deep down, you know the truth. You're stalling. The fear of failure isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It's subtle, patient, poisonous. It convinces you to wait for the right time, though you know there's no such thing. You tell yourself, tomorrow, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. You stare at your reflection in the mirror. There's tiredness in your eyes, but beneath that, something else, a spark, a buried fire that refuses to die. You sense it, the version of you that could have been, the one who never cared about falling, the one who tried, failed, and rose again. But that voice, the fearful one, it still grips your heart. It reminds you of every mistake you've ever made, every time you stumbled, every time someone said you're not good enough. And without realizing it, you built walls around your potential, brick by brick, fear by fear. You remember the first time you truly failed, maybe in school, maybe in a job interview, maybe in love. The sting of humiliation, the laughter, the judgment. Since then, you've avoided that feeling like fire. But you also avoided growth, because in avoiding pain, you avoided the process that shapes you. You sit there, motionless, lost in thought. A line echoes in your mind. Something you once read from Can't Hurt Me. You have to build calluses on your mind, just like you build them on your hands. You realize failure wasn't the enemy. Your comfort was. Failure was your teacher, your mirror, your forge. Every scar, every bruise was proof that you tried. The camera shifts, the scene changes. You're now running. Cold wind cuts across your face. Your heart pounds. Every muscle burns. You want to stop, to give up. But something keeps you moving. It's not speed. It's not stamina. It's defiance. You remember Goggins' story, the miles he ran with broken feet, the pain he embraced, the demons he faced. He wasn't superhuman. He was hardened. He understood something you're beginning to see now. Pain and failure are the gateways to power. You start to breathe heavier, but you don't stop. Each breath becomes a battle, each step a declaration. I will not bow to fear. You fall hard. The pavement scrapes your hands. The sting is sharp, but you smile, because for the first time you're not afraid of falling. You push yourself up, blood and sweat mixing on your skin, and whisper, this is where it begins. As you rise, the world feels different. The air tastes real. The ground beneath you doesn't mock you anymore. It holds you, because you've realized failure is not a dead end. It's a mirror showing you what still needs to be built. You remember another quote. Most people who are criticizing you haven't even tried what you're attempting. And suddenly the opinions of others fade away. You see how many dreams you buried just to avoid the laughter of people who were never brave enough to dream themselves. You see how many times you played small to stay safe. But safety never built legacies. Comfort never created greatness. You think of all the times you didn't apply for that job, didn't start that project, didn't tell that person how you felt, just because you feared rejection. Now you see how fear disguised itself as logic, as reason, as caution. It told you, be practical, but what it really meant was, be ordinary. Now you're done being ordinary. You start to list your failures, one by one, and for each, you breathe out gratitude. Because each failure carved you, refined you, shaped your edges. You realize that every hero you've admired was once where you are, afraid, uncertain, broken. The only difference is they did it anyway. You look up. The horizon stretches ahead, wide, infinite. Somewhere beyond that line lies your next fall, your next lesson, your next rise. But this time, you're ready. You won't wait for fear to leave. You'll move with it. You'll dance with failure until it becomes familiar. You whisper to yourself, even if I fail, I win, because I dared. The sky darkens. Thunder rumbles in the distance. A storm is coming. Maybe a test, maybe another setback. But you don't run from it. You walk straight into it, because now you understand that storms don't come to destroy you, they come to reveal you. The camera zooms in, your face streaked with sweat, eyes burning with purpose. You're not fearless. You just no longer ruled by fear. And as lightning flashes across the horizon, you say to yourself, let it come. I've already met failure. I've shaken its hand. Because now you know, the greatest tragedy isn't falling. The greatest tragedy is never trying. You step forward one last time into the unknown. The storm roars, but you don't flinch. You walk through it, calm, determined, unstoppable. And in that storm, something magnificent happens. Fear dissolves, doubt burns away. What remains is you, the you who's no longer hiding, the you who's no longer afraid to lose, the you who understands that every failure was simply a doorway, leading here, to this moment, to this rise, to this transformation. What does it mean to be reborn, not in body, but in spirit? What happens when everything you were is stripped away and yet something deeper inside you refuses to die? That's where you are now, standing at the edge of yourself, breathing in the silence after the storm. You faced failure. You've confronted fear. You've walked through pain that should have broken you, but it didn't. And now, in the ashes of everything you once thought you were, something stirs. The morning light seeps through the cracks of your window, warm, gentle, almost hesitant, like it's testing if it's safe to touch you again. You open your eyes. For the first time in a long time, you feel stillness. Not the emptiness that once haunted you, but stillness. A pause between who you were and who you're becoming. You realize you survived, not perfectly, not gracefully, but you're still here. You sit up. The weight on your chest feels lighter. The air smells different, fresher, cleaner. It's almost as if the world is waiting for you to make a move. You think about all the times you fell, the rejection, the heartbreak, the nights you thought it was over. And now, looking back, you see something you couldn't before. Every collapse was not destruction. It was construction of someone new, someone unbreakable. You step outside. The world looks ordinary. The same trees, the same street, the same people rushing to nowhere. But you're not the same. Something inside you has shifted. You've crossed an invisible line from survival to creation. You're no longer asking, why did this happen to me? You're whispering, what is this trying to teach me? You remember Viktor Frankl's words. Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. And suddenly, it hits you. You were never truly lost. You just hadn't yet discovered your why. Every great rebirth begins in darkness. You think of a seed buried deep in the earth, surrounded by soil, crushed by pressure, hidden from the sun. But that's where transformation begins. The darkness wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You realize your pain wasn't meant to end you. It was meant to plant you. You walk down a quiet street. The city hums softly around you. A symphony of life happening in real time. You feel connected, not to the noise, but to the rhythm underneath it. The rhythm of existence. You are no longer resisting the world. You are part of it, breathing with it, moving with it. The memory flashes of the person you once were, fragile, doubtful, constantly searching for validation. That version of you still lingers in the background, watching, but now instead of shame, you feel compassion. You whisper to that old self, thank you for surviving long enough to bring me here. You notice small things again. Sunlight flickering through leaves, the texture of air after rain, the faint echo of laughter in the distance. These details, once invisible, feel like miracles now. You realize that rebirth isn't an explosion, it's a quiet unfolding. It's the moment you stop running from yourself and start walking with yourself. Days pass and you begin to rebuild, not by force, but by flow. You wake up earlier, not because you have to, but because you want to see the sunrise. You write again. You move again. You forgive again. You forgive again. Every small act feels like a declaration. I am alive. But rebirth is not about forgetting the past. It's about reclaiming it. You revisit your scars, emotional, mental, physical, and instead of hiding them, you touch them with reverence. They're no longer marks of failure. They're maps of where you've been. They remind you you didn't just endure life, you evolved through it. There's a moment when you find yourself standing by a mirror again, the same mirror that once reflected a stranger. But now, the reflection looks back with calm confidence. The eyes are different, steady, certain, almost sacred. You're no longer asking, "Who am I?" Instead, you say, "This is me." The music swells in your mind, not external, but something internal, primal, ancient, the kind of music that lives in the heartbeat of creation itself. You are reborn, not as someone new, but as the truest version of yourself. You realize now that confidence was never about arrogance or perfection. It was about acceptance, standing in your truth even when the world shakes. It's not about becoming fearless. It's about learning to walk despite the fear, through it, with it. And then something beautiful happens. You start to attract peace. People notice something in you, a quiet power, an unspoken strength. You no longer chase, you draw. You no longer prove, you embody. You no longer fight to be seen, you see yourself. You begin to live not from the wound, but from the wisdom. You make choices not out of fear, but out of love. You speak not to impress, but to express. This is the art of living reborn, where pain becomes purpose, loss becomes wisdom, and survival becomes victory. As the day fades, you stand at a cliff overlooking the horizon. The sun begins to set, painting the world in gold and fire. You close your eyes, and for a moment, everything makes sense. The chaos, the silence, the struggle, the fall. It all led here. You breathe deeply and whisper, "I forgive, I release, I begin again." The wind shifts. The air feels alive. The past no longer chains you. The future no longer frightens you. You are here in this moment, reborn, radiant, real. And as the sun dips below the horizon, you open your eyes, ready to step forward, not into the life you had, but into the life you were always meant to live.